Now, if like me and you're watching this video, you probably grew up watching F1, watching the touring cars, and wanted to be a racing driver.
It's a first win for Mercedes! Woo-hoo! World champion!
An almighty dive into the chicane, and they make contact. Both of them go through, and car number one pops out in front.
You probably grew up and realised that that is a rich man's job. Motorsport is a rich man's game, but I have now got my racing license and I have my first race as a racing driver in just under 2 weeks. And this is basically the story of how I got to this point. And it's a pretty unorthodox one, but it's pretty cool. So I knew I wanted to work in motorsport when I was finishing my main dealer mechanics apprenticeship at a Ford main dealer, hence the whole business premise. I love Fords, but aside from that, and I was really struggling to find a team where you didn't need like a degree. And I've actually found a team local to me, which I still work at now because it's a great team to work for, and we do some really, really cool stuff. And there's some more cool stuff coming in the future. But I started there as like a junior, just sort of looking after the cars and making sure they're race ready. Whereas to now, I still build the cars, still make sure they're race ready, but I'm very much involved with the drivers and have great relationships with the drivers, on the radio to the drivers during the race, outside of work, going on track days with the drivers is great, and they're all extremely supportive of what I'm doing as well. Aside from that, starting the job I was in also allowed me to start my website and my business, because you can't race, you can't do any sort of motorsport or racing or even track days really to a nice extent on a standard 9-to-5 salary. So I started my website, and I think the first thing that I sold were the uprated lower arms that we still currently sell for the Mark 6s. And alongside that, we also sold air fresheners, which would sell out every sort of like drop. I would just buy them in bulk. They were the shape of Mark 6s, the shape of Mark 7s, and they would sell out, and we would hand write all the envelopes and then send them out, send them all out. And it was great. It was great fun. So we carried on doing the business, and it was great that the boss I work for now, he allowed me for a very long time to use the workshop to like assemble my lower arms. I still do some bits there because I don't have everything quite set up here, but all of that has given me the ability to have this place and keep my car here ready to build. And it's also given me the ability to actually consider doing a couple of races. So that's what we're doing, and who knows where it can go from here. It's going to be a fun car to drive. We're going to be near the pointy end of the grid, whereas when we do race this car, it'll probably be on the lower classes. We'll still be competitive against other cars in that class, but it'd be nice to try and go for a podium. I don't know what cars I'm going to be racing against. I could end up 10th, no idea, but we're going to film the whole thing. It's going to be a little series, and yeah, it's going to be good fun and hopefully not cripplingly expensive. And I say that now and I'll probably regret it, but we'll cut to our test day and our shakedown, and we'll see how that goes.
Now, as you may be able to tell, this is not Brands Hatch, and I don't know if I've already said, but we're racing on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, and this is Snetterton. So this was basically just a shakedown for the car. So we have taken this car on track days before, as it was basically a retired race car, which is why the whole process of having to get it ready. And last time we went on a track day, it was actually at Snetterton. All the wiring that is under the dashboard actually started smoking and all melted together. So since then, we have basically removed everything that's melted plus a little bit more. We basically made a DIY race loom and just got rid of everything that we don't need, and we basically need to do a shakedown, literally just to check that the car doesn't set on fire. So that was what this was. We also ran into some little issues electrical wise. The brake lights didn't work when we first got to the track. We did get them to work. First one started working and then the other started working, so it was fine in the end. But also the dashboard and that little rev limiter that's stuck to the dash doesn't work either. It's set wrong, but the dash itself had some dodgy earth or something, so that was another thing we needed to check. But that was exactly what this day was for. There was a couple of other things we did. We stuck it on some brand new AO52 tyres, which honestly, as we've always done track days, we've always run on pretty shoddy tyres, like some really old ZZRs from back when this car was racing. And this car last raced maybe 6 years ago, so that is 6-year-old tyres. And so you'd have grip for about 3 or 4 laps, and then you'd have no grip. So these tyres are pretty much brand new, and so we needed to get used to them. We also took off the old gas shocks that were on it, as they definitely needed servicing. And at work we had some Olin GT4 dampers of the Lotus GT4 car, and we have put them on this car. So we also need to figure out what the best setup is for that. We're gonna, as a baseline, run what is the actual GT4 settings, but obviously you need to be a really good driver to be able to handle that. So we sort of need to get used to that as well. But that is basically what this day was for. We weren't putting in any lap times because obviously it's a track day, you're not actually allowed to time yourself. So we had the V-Box, but we didn't have an SD card in there. There was no use in timing anything anyway. It's the complete wrong circuit and it's just a waste of time. So we thought there's just no point. So we sort of made sure the car was okay and just had some fun, and just wanted to get used to the car and sort of driving it a little bit more aggressively. Another thing that we wanted to find out was about the power delivery of this car, as we took it to the dyno for its power run and it seemed to be a little bit low on power. And when the dashboard did work when we were driving around, because it would come on sometimes, we saw that the car was only revving to around 7,900 RPM. Now this car used to be a hire car for Lotus Elise Cup back in the day, and to protect the engine for more longevity, which obviously means you can do more races, there was a limit put on the engine RPM through the ECU, so it should rev to about 8,400, 8,500, and we weren't quite getting that. So it was coming on the VVC, and yeah, basically that was pretty much it. And then it wouldn't stay on there for long because it would limit out. So all these little bits that we need to figure out were perfect for this day. Even our test day, the day before, which is actually at Brands Hatch, is on the wrong circuit anyway. It's on the Indy circuit, which is not really helpful unless you just want to practice the first 4 turns, which is great. I know Paddock Hill is a really hard turn to get right, but it's not going to benefit us that much. So on that day, all we're going to be doing pretty much is practicing our pit stops, as this is a 2-driver race. I'm sharing the car with my friend Ryan, who I work with, and we're basically going to split the race in half, but try and give ourselves the best opportunity while still maintaining a 50-50 split of the drive. So that's what that day will be, and we won't actually drive on the Grand Prix circuit in real life until qualifying. So that is where we need to hop on the sim and practice, basically. So what we did was we got our data engineer Jack to get the Lotus model that is in Assetto Corsa, and he has modified it to be as close to this car as we can get it. just so we can sort of get a feel of what the car is like around the track. Now, I can film those videos and film us practicing if that's something you guys think you might like. But if not, I'll try and keep it to some real racing content only. Now, you may say, why not just book a track day before on the Grand Prix circuit? And there is one about 1 week before. Currently, it's in about 3 or 4 days. But for that track day, it costs more than the actual race entry fees to do the race itself. It is a £700 track day, and honestly, that's not in the budget. So we are just going to send it. This is complete rookie season. I don't think we're going to get enough out of the day because Jack, our data engineer, who can go through everything with us, he lives quite far away, so it would be unfair for him to travel down twice in 2 weeks. It's a long journey for him. It's like 5 hours, and it's just way too expensive for us to add a whole extra day of testing. Puts more strain on the engine, puts more strain on the car, and we've only got one set of tyres, so we want to keep them in their best grip window possible. But that's pretty much it. That is what we've done for the day. That's what this test session was. Here's some clips from that session. But then what we did was, because we brought the racing wags, our girlfriends, wives, we decided, let's put them in the car with us. Let's stick the camera on their helmet. So the next clip is when I took Colette out. I stuck the camera on her helmet, and turns out she has absolutely no neck muscles. Did not do neck day, and was basically everywhere all over the car. Her helmet was getting in my way and I couldn't see, but it was pretty funny and she had a good time. So I'll just leave a couple clips at the end, and that's basically what that was. Just a little bit of fun to see off the day. If you have stuck around until now, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the next part where we're actually going to be at the race weekend, starting the test day, practicing our pit stops, and follow along in this whole racing journey. Hopefully we get some more races in this year. Maybe not necessarily in this car, but in the Fiesta, or maybe a different drive in a different car. But we will find out, and we'll see how this race goes, and hopefully we can grab ourselves a podium in our debut race. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, which I imagine 99% of you are. And yeah, let's see if we can win.
Why do you see anything?
Just guess.